Every empire believes it will last forever. That belief is usually the first thing to die. The Roman Empire. Rome didn't just believe it would survive. It believed it had beaten time itself. Poets praised it as eternal, an empire without limits in space or history. For centuries, that confidence looked justified. Roman legions dominated continents. Roman law shaped daily life. Roman roads outlived generations. But eternity started cracking from the inside. Emperors were assassinated so often it stopped being shocking. Civil wars drained the treasury faster than any enemy. Corruption turned power into a private business. The economy weakened, loyalty vanished, and the army became too large, too expensive, and too divided to save the state. While leaders fought each other, the borders were ignored. Groups Rome dismissed as barbarians walked straight into imperial territory. Cities surrendered without resistance. By the time the last Western emperor was quietly removed in 476, the empire was already hollow. Rome didn't fall in a final heroic battle. It simply ran out of control, money, and belief. The city that called itself eternal proved that nothing collapses faster than a power convinced it always will exist. The British Empire. The British Empire believed it had perfected dominance. At its height, it controlled nearly a quarter of the world and proudly claimed the sun never set on its rule. British leaders saw this as proof of permanence. Naval power ruled the oceans. Industry ruled trade. Colonies existed to feed the system forever. Then the bill arrived. 2 world wars drained Britain of money, manpower, and certainty. Victory didn't bring strength. It brought debt. Cities lay damaged. The economy was exhausted, and the empire depended on others to survive. The colonies noticed. Independence movements spread faster than Britain could suppress them. India left first, taking the illusion of eternity with it. Africa followed. Asia followed. London still had ceremonies, titles, and nostalgia, but the empire itself was finished. It didn't collapse under invasion or rebellion alone. It collapsed under cost. The empire that believed it owned the world discovered it could no longer afford it, proving global control is only permanent until reality demands payment. The Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire believed it was built to last forever. For more than 600 years, its sultans ruled across 3 continents, convinced they were the final defenders of Islamic civilization and the rightful heirs of Rome itself. Istanbul stood as proof. Armies marched under divine banners. Law and faith were fused into authority that felt permanent, but longevity bred complacency. Reform stalled while rivals modernized. Corruption spread through the court and the military. Technology lagged behind Europe. Provinces grew restless as the center weakened. By the time the empire entered the First World War, it was already sick. Defeat didn't just end the fighting, it ended the illusion. In 1922, the Sultanate was abolished, and the empire simply stopped existing. No last stand, no glorious collapse, just dismantled paperwork and silence. The state that believed it would guard civilization forever discovered that history does not care how long you've survived. 6 centuries of power vanished in a few years, proving endurance is not the same thing as eternity. The Mongol Empire. The Mongols believed the world was theirs by destiny. In a single generation, they built the largest land empire in history, conquering from China to Europe with speed that felt supernatural. Victory came so easily it seemed ordained. Genghis Khan declared that heaven itself had chosen them to rule, and for a while, no army could prove him wrong. Cities fell in days, kingdoms collapsed in weeks. But conquest was faster than control. After the great Khans died, unity died with them. Succession became a battlefield. Brothers, sons, and generals fought for power. The empire split into rival khanates that no longer obeyed a single authority. Trade routes fractured, cooperation vanished. What no external enemy could stop, internal division destroyed effortlessly. By the 14th century, the unstoppable empire was gone, not defeated in one great war, but quietly broken apart. The Mongols learned too late that destiny is useless without stability. An empire built on conquest alone can dominate the world, but it cannot survive itself. The Khmer Empire. The Khmer Empire believed its rulers were gods. Kings ruled as Devaraja, god kings whose authority was eternal and unquestionable. Angkor was the proof. Massive temples, vast reservoirs, and a water system so complex it seemed to control nature itself. As long as water flowed, power followed. For centuries, the system worked, and belief hardened into certainty. Then nature stopped cooperating. Climate patterns shifted. Long droughts dried reservoirs. Sudden floods shattered canals that were never designed to be repaired. The irrigation system cracked, and with it, food production collapsed. Cities weakened, loyalty faded. While the empire struggled to feed itself, enemies pressed in from the outside. Thai kingdoms attacked. Trade routes moved elsewhere. Angkor slowly emptied, not in fire, but in silence. By the 15th century, the jungle reclaimed the capital. The god kings were gone. The temples remained. The empire that believed it ruled forever discovered that divinity offers no protection when the environment changes. Control over people means nothing once control over nature is lost. The Aztec Empire. The Aztec Empire believed the gods had already decided the outcome. Their world ran on ritual, sacrifice, and absolute order, all designed to keep the universe functioning. As long as the gods were fed, the empire would stand. That certainty shaped everything. Power felt unbreakable. When the Spanish arrived, the Aztecs did not see an ending. They saw a disruption that could be absorbed. That assumption was fatal. European diseases swept through the population first, killing priests, generals, and rulers faster than any weapon. Authority collapsed before battles even began. Subject cities rebelled against an empire they had never loved. As chaos spread, Spanish forces exploited every weakness, marching straight toward Tenochtitlan. In 1521, the capital fell after a brutal siege. The empire didn't fade slowly, it shattered almost instantly. The Aztecs believed divine protection made them untouchable. Instead, it blinded them. Faith in inevitability turned confidence into paralysis, and the empire that trusted the gods to preserve it was destroyed by enemies it never truly understood. The Inca Empire. The Inca believed their empire was written into the sky. They ruled in the name of the sun god, convinced their power was eternal and unquestionable. Roads crossed impossible mountains, cities clung to cliffs, authority flowed from the emperor like divine law. Everything looked perfectly ordered, but eternity cracked from the inside. A brutal civil war over succession split the empire in two, draining loyalty and strength. While the Inca fought themselves, disease arrived ahead of any enemy, killing leaders and soldiers who had never seen a Spaniard. By the time the Spanish entered Inca lands, they walked into a state already collapsing. They captured the emperor, dismantled authority from the top, and let chaos finish the job. In 1533, the empire was effectively over, not after centuries of decline, but almost overnight. The Inca believed the sun guaranteed their survival. Instead, belief delayed action. The empire that trusted divine order to protect it learned that internal division makes even the strongest civilization collapse with shocking speed. The Akkadian Empire. The Akkadian Empire believed it had invented permanence. As the first true empire in human history, it unified vast territories under one ruler, one language, and one system of control. Its kings believed they had solved the problem of power forever. Order replaced chaos. Authority flowed from the center. For a time it worked, and that success hardened into certainty. Then the environment turned against them. Severe climate change triggered long droughts that shattered agriculture across the region. Crops failed, food supplies collapsed, cities weakened as famine spread. When people began to starve, loyalty meant nothing. Rebellions erupted, trade networks disintegrated, enemies pressed in while the state struggled just to survive. No army could fight hunger, no decree could command rain. Within a few generations, the empire vanished, leaving behind ruins and broken inscriptions. The first empire fell to the oldest enemy of all, nature. The Akkadians believed they had built something eternal. History answered by erasing it almost completely, proving that even the beginning of empire was never meant to last. These fallen empires reveal history at its most unforgiving. Moments when power bred certainty, belief replaced caution, and the conviction of eternity erased everything they had built.